Hello and welcome to the Herdline Podcast, hosted by Trace Johnson and the Herds Headset. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode where the Headset and Trace talk all things Marshall athletics. Be sure to follow us on X and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Now, sit back, relax, and let's talk the herd.
Welcome back to the Herdline Podcast. Trace and the Herds Headset with you as we are geared up for Season 2, Episode 1 of the podcast, starting a new season. We talked about that last week, and we're ready to get into that as we get very close to football season. We are less than 2 weeks away at the time of this recording. It's going to be amazing to see the Herd back in action. A lot more news to talk about for the Herd, even potentially moving forward with a possible another player we might be getting back this year. So, I mean, it's a good time right now for a Marshall fan for sure, because I think expectations are, I think they're high, but I also think that they're reasonable too. Like there's not like, sometimes there's just some unreasonable expectations. I don't think that's the case, but I think this team could be very good possibly. But what we're going to do today is we're going to look at some unanswered questions heading into the 2026 season for the Herd. We each have our own questions. A lot of ours will probably be very similar. We've, looked at our questions and stuff. So it's going to be really cool because I feel like a lot of fans are probably asking most of these questions internally, even if they're not like verbally saying them out loud. I feel like a lot of fans are probably thinking the same thing. So before we head into it, how you been doing, man?
Dude, football season's almost back. I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. It is the most wonderful time of the year. Forget about Christmas and all that stuff. I mean, this time of the year to me is just the best because of a lot of different reasons. I mean, first and foremost, the weather's finally breaking. It's getting a little bit cooler outside. It's in the 80s this week instead of like the 1000s as it's been all summer long. And I hate being hot, so I like the winter and different stuff. So that's great. But then just the anticipation for football season, man, it is something else. As a matter of fact, at this recording time, it's technically week 0. Like there's football this weekend, and that's exciting. I'll watch a little bit of it. But next week is whenever we really get to see what we've been hoping and thinking about and talking about all off season long. And that is, what in the world is the 2026 Marshall football team going to look like? Because really, I mean, there's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of different guys that we're putting on a pedestal. But at the same time, if I'm a fan of like a James Madison or App State or Georgia Southern, whomever, I look at that and I look at those preseason rankings with a lot of disrespect because, quite frankly, I'm going to be a realist. Marshall hadn't proved anything just yet going 5-7. Right. Now, should have we gone 5-7 last year? I don't think so. I think we lost some games that we should have definitely won. But on the reality of it is we've not proven anything just yet. So will our expectation match the reality? I don't know, but I cannot wait to find out because football's almost back. It's the best, and it's going to be awesome, man. I just cannot wait to see what's going to be happening for Marshall this season.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. What a time it is. I mean, you get those, everybody gets those, I don't know if it's jitters is the right word, but man, people are amped up for football season. And once you get to this point in the year, you know that you're really close. And that's why I was just telling one of my other buddies the other day, I said, it's as soon as it starts, it's over. Like that's the bad part is it does go pretty fast, but we're going to save it for when we have it, because I think this is going to be a very memorable season for Marshall. And we're going to get into the crux of this episode by talking about how we think, this is some of these things, some of these unanswered questions are big questions in our goal of having a very memorable season. We have to be able to, turn the corner on some of these things. We have to be able to be really good in some of these areas. So that's some of the stuff that we're really going to look at today. I have some questions. I'm not probably won't even ask every one of the ones I wrote down, but we'll just kind of go back and forth with whatever we have, whichever ones we really want to ask. We got quite a bit of stuff here to talk about. So I'll turn it over to you for your first question. and then we'll just go back and forth from there and give our takes from there.
Yeah, so I think a good place to start. Truthfully, I'm looking at some of your things that you got on here. I'm gonna steal it, and if I don't know if you've got mine or not, but I can send you mine.
Yeah.
No big deal. But
Yeah.
I want to steal it, and I want to just kind of begin here because I think it's a natural jump off. So last year defensively, Marshall was just rough. I mean,
Yeah.
The main reason as to why we lost most of the games, by which we did. Sorry, excuse me.
You're good.
The most reason why we lost most of those games last season was because of the defense. I mean, that's plain and simple.
Yeah.
So, Marshall departs with Shannon Morrison and brings in a new defensive coordinator to be able to kind of right the ship and get things going and heading in the right direction. And so Brad Lambert, I mean, Marshall legend, really, a guy that had one of the greatest defenses that our university had ever seen. I think really the biggest, most unanswered question is how much better does Brad Lambert make this defense on a national scale? And as a result of that, how many more games can Marshall win from that defensive scheme? What do you think about it?
Oh man, it's funny because we weren't as bad as we're talking about that defense was last year. We've talked about it endlessly on here where we were a few plays away from being an 8 or 9 win team. So they weren't even that far with a quite subpar defense. And I don't think the defense is going to be anywhere near that level this year. It's going to be much, much improved. I think personally we could see a season. I'm not going to predict that it's going to be exactly like this instance, but from the 2012 to 2013 season, we saw a huge jump. Whenever Chuck Heater came in 2013, some of those younger players, got a little older. Some of those injured guys started playing. We saw a big difference, like a 3 touchdown per game better defensively in 2013 than we had in 2012. I could see something pretty close to that. I mean, if it's not 3 touchdowns is a bit extreme. Because we didn't, even last year we didn't give up 40 points a game like we did in 2012. So I could see us realistically being, I would say anywhere from about 2 touchdowns per game better. Honestly, I can see that. I mean, if even for a touchdown game per game better, I'll be thrilled with that because we're going to win a lot more games. But I could see it being up to 2 touchdowns for sure, double digits, double figures. Brad Lambert just brings so much experience to that unit, and his track record speaks for itself. He's been a defensive coordinator, assistant coach, whatever, for so many years, and he did so many great things for us in the past. 2019 through 2020, one of the best defensive stretches we've ever seen, especially 2020. That defense was absolutely ridiculous. So I could see a lot of the same thing happening here. We've got a lot of talent back. We got a lot of, award listers and preseason guys, and we got a lot of that kind of stuff going on. So I really do think that he can make that unit will be anywhere from a touchdown to 2 touchdowns better per game defensively, points per game allowed. So wherever that, nationally that could be anywhere from, top 50, top 35, top whatever. If we're up in that area, we're talking about a 10-win team. I bet. I really see that, but that's where I'm thinking right now.
I would tend to agree. So, and I'm glad the way that you said that, because if they are a 1 touchdown to 2 touchdowns better a season ago, this is a 7 to 8 win team.
Easy.
There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
And so I think that the addition of Brad Lambert alone is going to be able to equivalate 2 more wins that we would get than what we would have otherwise. And I kind of go back to a couple of years back in 2024, whenever, Huff, transitioned from Tricky Trickett to Coach Daggy, who was just phenomenal. And how improved the entire offense was from top to bottom. The run game was great. Braylon Braxton was very electrifying with his feet, also could throw the ball a little bit. And, we won a conference title out of that year. So making a slight change to what would have already been a good team is I mean, it puts you over the hump. And I think that's where we're at, because Marshall last year offensively was, quite frankly, the best offense that I think that we had seen here in a long time,
Been a while.
like maybe a decade. And I know that's almost crazy to think, but 2014 was probably the next best unit that we had seen offensively, and it's just taken such a dramatic dip. So to be able to see the team kind of come together the way that they did last year offensively, it was great as a fan, because, I mean, no matter what, it was always exciting football. But defensively, they were just outmatched a lot. They would get beat, especially the defensive backs. And we'll talk more about them a little bit. But I think that when you add a Brad Lambert in, like you mentioned, he's been all over the place. He's got a power conference prestige behind his name. He's got a head coach position there at Charlotte for a number of years. And during a stretch where Charlotte was just having their football team, like they had never had a football team in all of school history before. And he was getting them a couple wins every season. In all reality, that was a miracle. And the fact that he was fired from there still makes a lot of people question and scratch their heads, because, I mean, he was getting them on the right track. And then to even think that 2 years ago he was in the mix. I mean, he was in my top 10 list of guys that I would like to be able to see be our head coach.
Yeah.
And now he's on the staff. And so that's just amazing to me. And he's already beginning to get a new defensive scheme in. I've heard some talks about that. We're going to have a 4-man front. We all saw that at the spring game. And so when you put all of that together, I think that we're easily, like you mentioned, at least a touchdown or two better than what we were last season. And that equivalates to at least a couple more wins, because the offense is always going to keep you in the game. The major question always has been, well, can the defense win us those games? And I think that with Brad Lambert at the helm calling the shots, that we're going to see some great things from that end of the ball.
No doubt. And I just looked back at last year, and they gave up defensively 30.3 points per game, which honestly is that's not as bad as I thought it was, because I could not remember. But 30.3 points per game is still the most they have given up in, I mean, pretty much the last decade, basically. That's the most they've given up, or even longer. They did allow 262 passing yards per game. That was a huge issue. Big chunk plays. So hopefully, with more pressure up front, 4-man front, that creates a little more pressure, and those quarterbacks aren't able to do as much against us through the air, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, 30.3 points per game, getting 2 touchdowns better than that would be 16 points a game. That, whoo, boy. I mean, when you look at it like that, I'd be thrilled with 7 points better, because that's 23 points a game. And, we're probably going to be scoring in the mid-30s at least. So, yeah, I like our chances in that case, no doubt. So, do you want me to ask one of mine or one of yours?
Yeah, you do whatever. I'm ready to roll with whatever you got.
Okay. Since you asked one of mine, I might just ask one of yours.
Okay.
I was looking on here trying to figure out. This is a good one, because it's talking about what we were just talking about. The number one question you have written down, not probably any order, but the first question is this defensive back unit legit? I think that's a very valid question. I think that's a question that could make or break the team. So what do you think there?
Well, there was question marks a couple of weeks ago, but with some of this news that just dropped about a week ago, Boogie Trotter's back, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that we're going to be at least decent. As long as you got Boogie Trotter back there, you're going to have some big plays. You're going to have some big moments. And quite frankly, out of all of the guys that's on the team this year, I mean, we got some good names this year. I'm just being honest. Like, we got really, really tough household type of guys. But personally, I think that Boogie Trotter has the potential to, I guess you could say, have the best season out of all of them. I mean, he was terrific a year ago. You're putting him back in a better defensive scheme than it was a year ago. And two, the guys that we have brought in, I'm thinking about this Eddie Pleasant III
Yeah.
from Buffalo. I mean, dude, this guy's got some great tape. Terrente Hinton as well. I'm looking too. We've got four senior defensive backs, and the rest of them are juniors for your average depth chart. The younger guys probably are not going to see the field. So I'm looking at that. Man, we've got experience. We've got a huge household name. We've got a lot of hungry guys that are looking to make a name for themselves that started at other universities. And from what I've heard from practice, okay, these are just rumors from some sources, but I've heard that the offense has actually had a little bit of tough time up to this point in just the preseason. And
Yeah.
it's not even necessarily that the offense is bad. It's the fact that the defense is just elevated from what they were last season. And I think a big reason of that is your defensive backs. Looking back to last year, I mean, that was the major weakness. I mean, of course, we didn't have much of a pass rush, but I would also kind of equivalent that to running a 3-3-5 just front. You're not going to get much pressure.
No.
But with you running a 3-3-5, you got to be really good at coverage. And time again, it seemed that we would get burned, that, they'd run some cross routes and guys get confused. And so it was a very, very difficult thing to watch because no lead was ever safe, it felt like. But truthfully, we've got almost an entirely revamped defensive backfield from cornerbacks to safeties. And a lot of these guys have had success other places. So I'm thinking, from what I'm hearing, from what I've seen on paper, that we are going to be in a pretty good position defensively. I think so. I think that is where we are headed. And that's exciting because, man, you take that offense and you put it with this defense. If they can just be a little bit better, as we just mentioned, I mean, that's going to be the difference in a lot of games. So I think that your defensive backfield, you're going to see a lot more shut down corners, interceptions, big hits, big plays, different things, like more Marshall football that we are used to seeing.
No doubt. And I was just looking at the roster and looking at some of the names back, we're deeper. The defensive backs were deeper this year for sure. No question about it. Couple Buffalo guys coming in there, I believe. And I mean,
Yes.
there's some talent out there. And I mean, all these preseason projections and all this stuff was talking about all this before Boogie Trotter came back. I mean, before, probably one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to win the Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year this year. I mean, if he's on par from what he was last year, 100%, that's doable for him. And then you got another preseason award watch list guy, Daquan Smith, back there to safety. I mean, yeah, I'm just saying we're not short on talent there. We're not short on depth there. Now, I mean, we have to see it play out, but we have to see it in action first, obviously, to get too crazy about it, because that unit struggled a lot last year. But I think now we are much more heading into the season. We are 10 times in a better position defensively than we were last year. I mean, we've got the schemes down pat. We're not discombobulated and confused. I mean, we heard Gibby last year during the season, talking about it was that they didn't know what to do defensively there because it was going so wrong. He had to take it over. It was just a jumbled up mess, and you don't have that now. You've got exactly what you need, and I think this unit. I mean, do I think the unit is legit? Is a question. I would say yes. Preseason wise, I'm definitely saying yes because they have Boogie Trotter back. Like before that, I think you could maybe make the case that wait and see. But I think with him back, yes, definitively. I hope that they live up to the expectations because they've got a lot going on there. And like you said, I think the fact that we're going to start having a 4-man front more frequently, that's going to help with the secondary being able to, because I mean, if a quarterback's just got all day to sit there, he's going to pick you apart, and that's what happened to Marshall a lot last year. So that's what I'm hoping to see for sure this year.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you, and you got to think, okay, here Tony Gibson is last season, and honestly, I saw somebody say this the other day online. this is really Tony Gibson's first season
It is.
because last year was so crazy.
Yeah.
Like the amount of guys that left the program, I mean, he just was building from nothing and was having to get some guys, quite frankly, that may or may not have really deserved to play at
Sure.
Division One. Some guys absolutely. I mean, he hit on some, but some guys he had to fill the roster. So you mentioned it. The depth is there. I mean, it's so much better than what it was a season ago, and that's just so exciting because they don't even have to light the world on fire, man. They really don't. The offense was so good, they just had to be kind of good.
Right.
And I think that we might even get better than kind of good this year, and a lot of that will stimulate from the defensive backs. And you know, let's just face it too. If you're able to shut down some of these routes, what's that going to mean? It's going to mean that you know you're going to get more pressure on the quarterback because the
Yeah.
quarterback he's not going to have anybody to throw to. You know, you have
Yep.
to sit back in the pocket more often. So you're going to see just a total, I think, meshing of the defense. But it will be interesting to see how quickly all of this comes together, because on the defensive side of the ball, it's not really how it was on the offensive side. Like we've got a few guys returning that were there last season, but for the majority, it's not like that. For most of these guys are pretty new.
Yeah.
So, you know, whenever you bring in new guys and have them all together, it will be interesting to see how long it will take to kind of make sure everybody gels and gets going in the right direction. So we'll have to see, but you know we're really hoping that we get some better defensive play than what we did a year ago.
Sure
Um,
are.
you know, I think in that the next question that we need to ask now. I mean, this isn't. I don't have this in my notes, but with the news that kind of broke yesterday at the time of this recording, you know, we're in talks about possibly having Floyd Lacey come back. One of the best wide receivers that we have seen here in a long time. And so, you know, he's looking to get eligible. We'll see how all of that transpires. I know a lot of people are against it, but more than likely, I would assume he'll get it. But from there, I don't know what he'll do. I mean, it's pretty late in the game to try and jump ship and go to a different program and say, all right, you know, a week before we start playing, can I get on the team? But if he does get that eligibility, what kind of difference does that make to this Marshall offense that was good last season? And really, the majority of the reason why they were so good rested upon his shoulders, just a playmaker from top to bottom.
Oh man, I mean, this would be massive, just absolutely massive. And you know what? The NCAA has helped out so many other people and screwed over so many people. I don't even care if it's legit or not. Bring them back. I don't care. Like it's about time they do something good for Marshall. You know what I'm saying? So let's just bring Floyd Lacey back and let's ride, because I really can see. I mean, you know, just looking at the numbers from last year. 65 receptions, 769 yards, 5 touchdowns. No other receiver even had 400 yards receiving. I mean, yeah. Now, granted, all these guys are good. These guys are good players. Tamarez, Norton's obviously good. He's going to have a big year, but I mean, nobody was really in that at that same level as Lacey. And not only that, but his ability as a special teams return guy, I mean, it's just invaluable. He's just electric. I mean, I don't know, you know, I'm sure he's obviously, I'm sure you could stroll out there right now and still do what he did last year. He's, you know, I don't question that at all. But I mean, I think that much like with what the defense, like I talked about earlier with Boogie Trotter coming back, how that really totally changed that defense and made it more legit, defensive back unit more legit. This will make the Marshall offense even more legit for sure. I mean, this will be huge to have a player of this caliber come back. And like you said, it's still pretty early in this process. Don't know when anything is going to be announced. Don't know any of the details, but good grief, that would be huge for this offense. And that would be huge for the team in general to just have somebody like that back, because he's a playmaker and he showed it all year. And if he's eligible this year, he's going to show it again this year.
No doubt. And you mentioned Norton. I agree with you. I think that Adrian Norton is set to have a monster season. He's been a really reliable guy in the past, but I think this offseason he has kind of gone in with the mentality of, all right, like I'm the guy, I'm number one on the depth chart. I'm your number one option. So if you add back Lacey with Norton, you got two guys there that truthfully could be a number one receiver.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, this could be the most dynamic receiver duo that we have seen in a long time. I mean, we've had some good standout like one receivers in the past. I mean, you think about guys like Tyree Brady and Tommy Schuler was just one of the best of all time. But it's been a while since we've seen like a duo be able to
Yeah.
just take over an offense. We just talked about it a couple weeks ago. Whenever the 2002 season, my mind goes to Josh Davis and Darius Watts. It was like 1A and 1B. They both were electric. They both could make big plays. And I think that's the same type of style that you would see if Lacey does come back. You've got two guys who are just able to be your guy whenever, your back's against the wall. And then you have a Bradshaw coming in that I honestly think he's got some really, really good playmaking ability. Tamarez as well, very quick, a slot guy. Toby Payne is a tight end. So, I mean, like, you have got weapons, man. Like, this is crazy. So I'm really hoping that all of that works out and that we get him, in the program by the time that we play Penn State. I mean, that would be a huge get and something that I guarantee you would be a shock and a surprise to Penn State that I'm sure has been just saying, all right, well, maybe they watched some film from the last season and said, man, we sure are glad he's not there anymore. Man, if he were to come back, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely epic was what that would be. I mean, that's like just falling in your lap kind of stuff, just what are the odds kind of thing. And man, I'm hoping for the best. I know all Marshall fans are hoping to see that happen, but we will see with our own eyes. Hopefully Penn State, hopefully he's out there in Happy Valley. That'd be amazing. So my next question I wanted to ask we're sticking with the offensive side of the ball. I have it written down as there's two separate questions, but I'm just going to combine it into one just because it's easier to do it that way. So a lot of hype this year for our offense, a lot of hype for a lot of players, none more so than Carlos Del Rio Wilson, quarterback one, a lot of hype there. So first part of the question is, simply put, will he live up to the hype? That's the first part of the question. Second part of the question is, a lot of fans were, and myself included, were kind of critical of this last year. Are we going to see him run the ball less? Because that kind of broke him down last year at the end of the year. No question about it. He was not healthy. And, fans have been very adamant believing that he had too many carries. And, he's a great running quarterback and he should run the ball. But you also don't want to see the guy get driven into the ground. So what's going to be the answers to that? Is he going to live up to the hype? Is he going to run the ball less?
This is a tough question. Because I see a reality where he does, and I also see a reality where he does not.
Yeah.
Now that he's got a year of film where he started the majority of the games, this is where teams can adjust to you. And quite frankly, last season, we never really saw him throw the ball downfield a great deal. He would every now and then, but the majority of these big plays that we remember is either he tucked and ran it, or he would just dump it off to Lacey and let him make a play. So this is definitely going to be a year that I think is really interesting in the quarterback room in particular, because call me crazy, but I would not be shocked if we get into like week 7 and if the offense is sputtering and not, going on all cylinders, where you don't see Khalil Wilkins go out there. And I know Zion Turner's still there, and I think he might be the second stringer at the moment, but make no mistake about it, Khalil Wilkins will become the second stringer. I have that feeling. Watching him play in the spring game, dude, I'm telling you, I know you weren't there, but he is a special runner of the football.
Yeah.
Passing needs a little bit of work, but man, he is fast. He is so fast. So, like I said, I could realistically see this happening where if Del Rio struggles, that's all right. We got other options. This is a deep quarterback room, and this is not even disrespect to Zion Turner. He's a starting quarterback other places too. He started at UConn, and he helped Jacksonville State. Sorry, a couple years back too. So, this is an incredibly deep quarterback room. Now, whenever we talk about all of the preseason hype, that's almost insane to say, because you look at it, Del Rio is like the preseason conference player of the year. He's on all of these watch lists of quarterback awards and all of those things. But it really will boil down to how other teams adjust to him. He's a good runner of the football, but in my personal opinion, he's not a great one. The only thing that he's got going for him is that he's really big. Seeing him be able to just lower his shoulder and run over you, that was awesome to see. But as you mentioned, it took a toll, because by App State last season, he was basically playing on one foot, and you could tell he just wasn't himself. So he's going to have to throw the ball downfield. We're going to find out how good of a passer he is. And if he struggles, then don't be surprised if there is a change in the quarterback position. And I'm calling that now, because again, I know that's crazy. You have an award guy, possibly coming in. That usually doesn't happen, but don't be shocked to see something like that take place this year. It just wouldn't surprise me. I hope that I'm wrong about that, and he just runs away with it and throws for 500 yards every single game, and we go to the national championship. That'd be fantastic.
Yep.
But I think that Gibson and Rod Smith and all of the company has recruited so well and retained so well that we have such a deep quarterback room where we've got multiple guys that we can look to. And I think those multiple guys are not just game managers, but they can go out and they can win you a game if you need them to.
Yes, I agree. And talking a little bit about the Marshall quarterback unit, we had Tony Gibson on here back in April, yeah. And he said he sleeps better at night knowing he's got the quarterback room that he has this year. I mean, last year it was a completely unknown, completely just no clue what you're going to have. And looking at, I have the Phil Still College Football Preview magazine as my guide here, but looking at his 2026 top individual units, looking at the quarterbacks, the top quarterback units in the country, he's got Marshall at number 39 in the country. That is one spot behind Alabama. That is ahead of Boise State, Air Force, Hawaii, Nebraska, Navy, Texas Tech, TCU, UCF, Jacksonville State, Clemson. The list goes on and on and on. This is a good unit. I mean, you can say whatever you want about, I don't know if they'll be, if Del Rio Wilson is going to be, legit or not, but this unit is really, really talented. And I'm of the belief that he's going to live up to the hype. I just am. Barring any injury, you can never predict that. But I think barring any injury, he will. I just do. I think he's cut out for it. I mean, he could have left after last year and easily gone back to a Power 4 school. No question about it. He was already at a couple before Marshall, so he could have done that, but he didn't. And I think he's going to reap the benefits from that. And I think we're going to reap the benefits from that. As far as his rushing totals, looking at it last year, he had 70 more carries, at least 70 more carries than anybody else on the team. That's just a little much. I mean, 160 carries for a net of 661 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's a great running quarterback. He really is. And he's big and physical, like you talked about. He's not going to blow past the, with 4.3 speed or anything like Khalil Wilkins will, but he's a very good running quarterback. But 160 carries, that needs to be cut down to no more than, I'm saying no more than 100. And that might even be pushing it. I mean, if you want to go 90, I'd be fine with that, because I think we got good running backs, and we're going to talk about that later too. But last year, you had two guys. We had a lot of good running backs last year. Antoine Roberts, Michael Allen, Barbie, all these guys, they needed more carries, but Del Rio Wilson got a lot more carries than he probably should have. And I mean, it worked for the most part, but I really do want to see those carries go down for sure, because he was not healthy. He was kind of a shell of himself health-wise at the end of last year. So that's just where I am with that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And kind of really, this is a good segue to the next question, kind of piggybacking off of that, knowing that, hey, Carlos, if you want to go play on a Sunday and you want to make a big name for yourself, you're going to have to throw the ball down the field. If you're Rod Smith, here you are, you've got a guy who's been in your system for a year and, had very high success, quite frankly. So if you're Coach Rod Smith, do you think that he's going to open up this playbook more? And like you said, say, hey, don't rush as much, but especially if you get Lacey back, you have Lacey, Tamarez, Bradshaw, and Norton, throw the ball down the field. Let your guys go up and make a play. Let's really expand this thing. Let's have almost an air raid system. Now, it won't be an air raid system, because, they're going to balance that out. But if you're Coach Rod Smith, do you just say, man, here's the keys, go for it. We're going to live by you, or we're going to die by you, and hopefully we're going to live. But what do you think Coach is going to do as far as just the playbook itself? Are we going to see, quite simply, more of the screens and stuff that we have seen for years and years and years, or do we see more shots down the field?
I mean, I would like to think there'll be more shots down the field, and that's not to say that I want to see too much effort put onto that. I just want to see it when it's there. If we can just settle for that, that's a start. I mean, you don't have to throw it downfield 50 times a game. That's just not. But I'm saying we could definitely do more there, and we got some deep threat guys. I mean, we got some guys that can really go deep. But I do believe that the offense will look different this year to an extent. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a whole lot different, but I think that there will probably be more emphasis on the passing game. I would hope, because I mean, I've even seen things saying how Del Rio Wilson wants to throw the ball more. So hopefully that's something that they do. Hopefully, like you said, what we both said, that his carries go down. I mean, I don't want it to be like a Texas Tech Mike Leach air raid or anything, but I want to see some more emphasis put on the downfield passing game, not to a point where it's predictable and just ineffective, but I want to see a little more emphasis put on it. And I think that we're going to see more. I mean, here's the thing too, and this, I don't know if we got any questions about this or not. We might, but you got to throw to Toby Payne more. Yeah. I mean, you just do. I mean, I've been a major proponent, believer in throwing the ball to the tight end. Tight ends are so valuable to an offense. I mean, they're seemingly always going to be open, almost open. Doesn't matter if it's a 5-yard play, doesn't matter if it's a 30-yard play. They're going to be open somewhere, somehow. They're going to make a play. And they're so big and physical, they can bully, a small 180-pound corner safety. They're quicker than linebackers. You need to get these guys the ball. And Toby Payne's a really good one. And he's had a great career so far, but I want to see him more. I want to see more Toby Payne. I would throw to him. I mean, if it's not as much as a couple of those receivers, I'm throwing to him pretty dang close to those, top receivers as many times per game. I'm right there. So I'd like to see, that's part of the offense I want to see change. I want to see more emphasis put on the tight end, more things centered around him and his abilities. So that goes into the passing game, though. So, yeah, I do want to see that for sure.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, Toby's pushing 240 pounds, too. I mean, and when you look at him, he's just chiseled. He's all muscle. Yeah. And quite frankly, too, talking about our tight ends, don't sleep on Tracy Stevens.
Oh yeah,
he's been in the system for a couple of years now, and he's been here for a little bit, and he's a talented guy. I mean, him and Toby both on both ends of that line, being able to make some plays. You don't be shocked to see them both make some noise. And I agree, though. You've got to be able to implement Toby so much more. And this is something that I think Marshall fans have been saying the last 2 seasons, because Toby is a special tight end. He's quick, he's physical, he's able to make some of those plays like you mentioned, and it was so frustrating because you have this guy who's like well, you're right. Tight ends usually find a way to get open about every play. I mean, he could have gotten the ball a lot more, but it just seemed that all the design plays were other places. So I really am hoping that we utilize our tight ends more so than what we have in the past. And that just adds another dynamic to if you're a defense. I mean, if I am an opponent in the Sun Belt Conference and I look at this roster top to bottom, I mean, all of these guys that we have mentioned a few times now, including Toby Payne, that's a tough day at the office if you're a defensive coordinator. Like, that's a tough week of just preparation and film study and getting your guys into a place where, like, okay, we got to guard all of these guys because, let's just call it kind of like it was last few seasons. We've had some decent units, but more or less it was either guarding and really putting a focus on the run game and then maybe a receiver or a tight end here or there. Yeah. But looking at this roster top to bottom, this truly is, I think, the deepest receiving core plus your tight ends that we have had in a long, long time. And that is tough, man. I don't envy anybody in the Sun Belt East that is a defensive coordinator or position coach having to scheme around all of these dudes because all of them can make some huge plays.
No question. And looking at Toby Payne's stats just last year, I mean, 37 receptions, 393 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's solid numbers for a tight end.
Way too low, though, man.
Way too low. Way too low. 37 receptions needs to be at a minimum 50.
Yes.
Minimum 50. I mean, I don't care. I remember. I think I've been literally talking about throwing to the tight ends for years. I mean, it's been like constant every year. I'm just like, I would throw to my best tight end. I throw to him 10 times a game. Like, I remember saying that all the time, and I mean, I still might believe that to this day. I'm just saying, like, they make plays. They know exactly how to get things done, and their security blankets and everything else. Like, and when you got one that's as good as Toby Payne, you got to take advantage of it. So 37 receptions needs to be at least 50 this year, in my opinion. But we'll see how that goes. So my next question. Before we move on,
I want to do a comparison here. I'm glad you said 50 a year because looking at Cody Slate, right? His best seasons were probably, his sophomore season, he had 66. That was his best season, 818 yards receiving. Next year was down some to 40, 510 yards. And then senior season was 50, 607 yards. And the total of 23 touchdowns in his entire career. That is some great tight end numbers. And like you mentioned, man, we just got to throw the tight end more, no doubt. No question.
It's just as simple as that. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a 5-yard, little dinky. I don't care. Like, throw the ball to the tight end. That's just because that's going to bring in, even if you're doing that, that's going to bring in the safeties and that's going to bring in the defensive backs, and then there goes Norton, right down going vertical on somebody. So I mean, let's just make it happen. Let's just make it happen. So. My next question, and we're going to stick again with the offense. We've been really offensive heavy, but this is a question that I think I would say out of every unit we have this year, this is the one that people probably have the most questions about. Looking at the running back room, because we lost a couple guys from last year that were quality players. 3 guys, actually, that were quality players. Justin Williams-Thomas, who played more sparingly but was still a good player. Antoine Roberts, very good player. And Michael Allen was a very good player. So all 3 of those guys are gone. But you still got Joshawn Barbie back, who was a good player that came on strong. You got a couple other guys in the mix as well that are going to get in there. But we really got to ask the question: is this running back unit? Is it going to be an asset to the team? Is it going to help? Are they going to be what you would expect a Marshall running back room to be? Because we're always good at that position, no matter what. Is this going to be a unit that continues that trend?
This is the great question mark of this team. Truthfully, I don't know. I can't tell you one way or the other what because I look at Joshawn Barbie. A solid season last year, but now he's the guy, and he's your number one starting out. This is his job to lose. He's your senior. And from what I've seen too, I mean, the guy looks cut. He's in shape. He's fast. He's got everything going for him. So I think that he'll have a lot of touches this year, and I think they have a lot of opportunity to carry on that legacy of really good running backs. Now, will he? I don't know. That remains to be seen. I really do hope so. But looking at the room in total, you got a guy that just transferred back in, TJ Lester, who is a true sophomore. And, he's a guy that he could end up breaking out and having a good season. I think that he's very solid and capable. You've got, Judah Price as well. I've heard some just fantastic things about his heart and his hustle and the mentality that he has just for the game of football. The coaches are high on him. They all say, man, I wish everybody on the team had the same mentality that he does. I would honestly equivalent him, just from what I've read, to being like a Scatterboo type player. He comes in, he's just kind of a crazy guy he's not afraid of you, even though he's smaller than you most of the times. But in my opinion, and this might be a hot take, and I might be wrong, and I look at the running back room, a guy that I think is going to make a huge step forward is Anthony Quinn Jr. I think he is right now in a position very similar to what Antoine Roberts was a season ago. Whenever the season started up, we kind of weren't looking at Antoine being that great of a difference maker. But by the end of the season, my opinion, he's probably our top guy. Him and Michael Allen were very close. Mm-hmm. I think that you're going to notice by mid-season, it won't be at the beginning, but I think as he slowly is going to get more reps and get more looks and opportunities, that he really will emerge. And I think that he could end up becoming a really solid player by the end, and maybe even be your guy that you anchor that backfield for the future. And again, I might be wrong on that. I don't know, but I'm just high on him. I think that he is a very solid player, and he's just been quietly working in the background for the last couple of seasons. And I think that this year he's going to have some opportunities, and he's going to make a big step forward. But to answer the question, looking at the backfield in total, I really don't know for sure. That's the great question mark for this team for this season, because there's just not a lot of exclamation points, that we know this guy's going to be a stud. We know that this guy's going to take his game to the next level. Joshawn has the potential. I think that Quinn has the potential, and Price is going to hit you. I mean, he's just going to be one of those guys that, you bring in, like maybe even a fullback in some areas where he'll lead block. I don't know. But again, I don't know for sure what this running back room will look like. I hope it's good. I'm wishing for the best, but I would be lying to you if I told you that, I know for a fact they're going to be fantastic.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's for sure the case. It's still a wait and see process with these guys. But here's one thing that I did just think of, and I actually think this makes me very much more optimistic for this season than even I was before. So we're always good at running back. That's never been an issue. We're always good at that position. We're always deep. We're always got guys to turn to no matter what. If that position is the biggest question mark heading into the season, I like our chances. I'm just saying, because personally speaking, I think they'll be good. I'm not going to say it's going to be the greatest running back room we've ever seen. I'm not going to say that, but I think they're going to be good. And I don't know if it's, resting on our on our laurels, resting on my laurels, resting on whatever. But I think that pretty much any running back room Marshall trots out there, there's going to be somebody good in it, or multiple people good in it. I don't know if that's, arrogance or what, but I truly believe that the unit's going to be good. Now, it might not, it's going to probably be more of a running back by committee, like it was last year. You're not going to have an Ollie or a Layburn or a, whatever to rush for like 1,500 yards, but you don't need that. If you can go out there and you can have the guys we're talking about, Quinn, Lester, Barbie, Price, all these guys, however many that play, if you want to put them out there and they all combine for 1,500 plus yards, I'm fine with that. Just fine with that, because it does require this team's not going to require one of those guys to go out and rush for 1,500 yards. It's just not. You got a running quarterback, by nature, a running quarterback. You got an offense that's probably going to air it out more. You don't need a running back to go out there and have 300 carries in a season. You don't need that. So as long as we have a good, stable running back by committee, I like our chances. I mean, that is crazy to think about, that we've gotten to the point where that is what we're most concerned about heading into the season, is the position that we never have to worry about. I'm just saying, I think that really bodes well for us. And, talking a little briefly about Judah Price a little bit, I could see him being almost like an Ethan Payne kind of guy. Just rock solid, just always tough, just tough to bring down, good in between the tackles, makes plays every game, consistent contributor. I could see him being very much in the light of an Ethan Payne. That's kind of where I see him.
Yeah, and really, too, that kind of brings up another good question that I think we can talk about. Every year, there's just a guy that might not always be the most talented guy on the field, but they embody what it means to be a football player at Marshall. The greatest example of this in my lifetime, I think, was Kobe Cumberlander. Mm-hmm. Like, again, the guy, he didn't make it to the NFL. I don't think he played pro football, but the dude was electric, and he made big plays every now and then. And he just embodied by his character what he did off the field, how he conducted himself, what it really meant to be a Marshall football player. You got other guys, too, like Owen Porter, who was very similar to that. J.J. Roberts is another guy that I think of. Ethan Payne is another really good example of that. And looking at this roster, who do you think will emerge as like the next fan favorite guy? Not your big name that's like, oh yeah, they're going to the NFL, but just a guy that comes to work every day, puts in the time, makes some plays whenever it's needed, and just kind of captures the heart of everybody at the Joan week in and week out. Who do you think that would be?
Man, there's a lot that could fall into that category. There really is. I'm just looking at this roster, and yeah, I mean, I could see it being a number of different people. How about a guy like Braden Ward? I mean, by this point, he's going to be by this season, he's going to be a household name. Like, he's going to have a big year. I'm just saying right now, double-digit sacks. That's what I predict there. He's going to have a huge year. I mean, he's already, pretty well known and for Marshall fans, obviously, but I think this year could be the year that he breaks out into something really special. And I think he could be a guy that fits that mold. You look at guys in the past that have been excellent pass rushers and how much they have, completely won over the fan base. Mike Green, Benny Curry, those types of guys. I can see this being similar right here. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as those guys, but I can see it being that way. Any of those running backs, like you said, I mean, just hard-nosed, just go to work kind of guys, Judah Price, different guys. Yeah, those are the types of guys you really rally around as a fan base, because it's just like those are just dudes that you just want to be in, you want to be in the foxhole with kind of thing. So I could see that being a really strong candidate for that. I mean, Toby Payne's a household name, but heck, everybody loves Toby Payne. He's going to have a bigger year, so yeah, a lot of people are probably going to fall even more in love with Toby Payne this year. So we got a heck of a good. I mean, the fact that all these guys, all these really good players that we got coming back could have left. Everybody could leave. You can leave every single year. It is what it is now. Money talks, all that. But these guys stayed, and they're now they're just so much more beloved now than they even were before. So that's a hard question. It could be like half the roster, honestly.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. And I got two guys in my brain that I think about. So the first one's pretty obvious. It's Zay Bradshaw, Turner Bradshaw.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, he's Number one, he's part of Marshall royalty, just the bloodline of Marshall royalty. Ahmad's his dad.
Mhm.
But quite frankly, too, man, I mean, he'll help out a lot in your specialty teams. I think he'll end up returning kicks and punts and whatnot. But you put him in at the slot. He's quick. He's fast. I've heard a lot of really, really big things. Coach Gibson's high on him as far as his talent level is concerned. I think he's one of these really rare guys that is going to be able to live up to what his father's legacy was. That's a hard thing to do, especially whenever, he's a legend like that. My mind goes back to Chad and Cole. Everybody was like, oh, yeah, Cole's going to be the next Chad Pennington. Well, no, Cole Pennington's his own person.
Right.
And I'm glad that he's marking his own path. In fact, he'll be back at the Joan this season. That's going to be a really cool game on homecoming, even, which is like really a weird coincidence. We're having the whole thing for Cole Pennington.
Yep.
But whenever I look at Zay, I think that he is a very talented player, and I think that he's got a lot of upside to him. The other name that I think about is linebacker Cannon Lewis. He embodies every single detail of what it means to be just a guy that the fans fall in love with. From Cabell Midland, just 15 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
He was playing last season just as a young redshirt freshman. Was with Tony Gibson there at North Carolina. So, I mean, he's really linked to him as a coach, and I know Coach Gibson really likes him and is high on him as well. And I think that as he continues to mature and grow, you'll see a couple things. He'll make some more plays, number one, but I think secondly, this is a big thing. I don't think he'll go anywhere. I really don't. I think that he loves Coach Gibson so much, and I think that he understands just the opportunity that he's got to play so close to home, around his family, around his friends, where they can come to the Joan and watch him. And I think that he's going to be one of these legacy players that's going to last all the way till his senior season. And I think that the more that we see of him, the more that we're just going to become endeared to him and really appreciate him as a player.
Yes, and I just thought as you were saying that, honestly, when is the last time that, because I don't know off the top of my head, when is the last time we've had a 4-year, 5-year player that has been there since and graduated? It would have had to have been like probably 2022, 2023 era. I mean, like Mike
Owen
Abraham
Porter,
or
maybe.
Owen Porter. Yeah, probably Owen Porter. That was 23. So that one might have been the last one.
I'm talking like starters, man. I don't know. That's a tough question to ask.
Right. It is. I mean, because after 23, everybody, it was just gone. But like, as far as it's been a long while since we've seen that. And, like you said, Cannon Lewis being a guy that could be that, which is pretty dang cool. Yeah, no doubt. So my next question, and this is starting to get into like an overall, not just looking at one certain unit, not just looking at a certain player. This is like an overall look at the season here. So I think we already know the question. I think we already know the answer to this question, but I wanted to ask, because it's a good talking point, do we have a legitimate shot at being a Sunbelt Conference championship contender? Is that a legitimate shot, or are we not quite there yet?
Oh, man. I mean, on paper we do. But the reality of college football is so different than what it would be years ago. Because, yeah, Marshall is favored in a lot of different polls. But if I'm not mistaken, I think everybody was high on Old Dominion last year.
Yeah.
They finished middle of the pack, like they won 7 games. So that's a tough question. I want to be optimistic, and I want to say, yeah, of course we do. We're Marshall, and duh. And we got all these guys that's on these watch lists, and we got talented players up and down the roster. But honestly, too, at the same time, I don't really know what these other programs have built.
Right.
You've got a Coastal Carolina that's been quietly building, it seems, every single season. They just hired a new coach a couple years back. He's done a really good job down there. So they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And we'll actually get into this in a little bit. You got an App State that, again, it's almost like a put up or shut up year that they've got. And then James Madison, who knows what in the world they're going to get out of them. I mean, they could be really good, or they could finally see that reality check that Marshall fans know all too well about after you come up and you've had sustained success of, oh, okay, this is what it's like when you have a transition of coach, and maybe it's not going to be all up, up from here all the time, every single season. But on paper, we do, no doubt about it. At this point in the season, before a game is played, before the whistle's blown, before we've seen anything else, no doubt, I believe that we have the potential to win a Sun Belt Conference championship. And it's really interesting. If I was going to pick it, I would probably pick a rematch of 2024. I would pick Marshall versus Louisiana to be in your Sun Belt Conference championship game. Now, who hosts? I hope it would be Huntington, but I don't know. But that's what I would honestly pick at this present moment on paper. But if you ask me week 3, we're going to have a whole lot better of an idea on how good Marshall really is and how good really the entire conference is as well.
Yeah, on paper, they absolutely are a contender. Absolutely a contender. I mean, just, we're talking about this, and they were picked 3rd preseason. They were picked 3rd behind Old Dominion and James Madison. And, Old Dominion last year, I think you actually kind of flipped it. They were not really picked the highest last year, but they still were a 10-win team. And I think that is carried over to where people think they're going to be good again. But if you look at Old Dominion, they've got like 2 players back offensively. I mean, I just don't see it. I just don't see what people are seeing in them this year. They've got, one returning starter offensively. I mean, I just don't see what they've got. I don't know. Everybody brings in new players, and I understand that's part of it, but Old Dominion's just a team that, I don't know. It's like they just never, last year, the only reason they were good, obviously. If you win 10 games, you're good, but there weren't any expectations. Now there's expectations. I don't know what they're going to be. And then James Madison, they were the national darling, and they were in the playoff, and they did all the things that they did, but they got a new coach. They got a new team. Their roster's totally different. So they could just as easily win 10 or 11 games as they could win 5 or 6. I just don't know with them. And so those are the 2 teams ahead of us in the East, 2 very big question marks. Yeah, I think out of those 2 teams, we've got the best team coming back. That's my opinion. At least on paper, we've got the best team coming back because we've got more starters. We've got more experience back than those teams do. So that's where I would lean there. And if a couple other teams that could pop. Georgia Southern's always a wild card. You never really know what you're going to get with them. They've beaten us the last 2 years, which is just like so annoying because we should have won both games easily and we just beat ourselves. But I want to get them back for sure this year. You never know what you're going to get with them. So they're always a team that could sneak up and do some things, but they're also very untrustworthy. So really, just looking at the East, that side, yeah, we got as good as, I think we have as good a chance as any of those teams to win the division. Will we? I don't know. I'm not going to predict that yet. We're going to do that next week, but I don't know. I don't know what to expect, quite frankly. But do we have a legitimate shot? That's the question. Yes, we do.
Yeah, and sorry for everybody listening. I got Old Dominion way wrong there.
No, you're good. You're good.
Like, oh man, they're a 10-win team. I said they weren't any good, man. Anyway, that's on me. I forgot Colton Josephs is that dude now at Wisconsin.
He was, yeah.
But anyway, I think this is a good segue to the next question that I've got is, talking about the East, talking about the Sun Belt just in general. Who's the biggest obstacle that you believe is going to be, up against us? Like, who is going to be the Achilles heel? Because let's just face it, the chances that Marshall goes undefeated is very low.
Right.
That don't happen very often. It's not the 90s anymore. So, and we think back to one of the best teams we ever had, 2014, right? Western Kentucky, the game, right? They were our Achilles heel, it seemed like. Every single year, it was always tight games back and forth, good competition. But who is that now going forward in the Sun Belt this season, 2026?
Yeah, that's there's a couple options there, quite frankly. I mean, if you look at if you just look at our schedule, we have three out of our four conference road games are pretty tricky. I'm not going to lie, because we're at James Madison, we're at Old Dominion, and we're at Georgia Southern. Last time we were at Georgia Southern, we blew a 20-point lead and lost. We've only lost at Old Dominion one time ever, but last time we played there 2 years ago, it was a nail biter. And then at James Madison, every time we play them, it seems like it's always coming down to the end. 2 years ago, it was a double overtime. We beat them at James Madison. So any of those teams, I think, honestly, could be our Achilles heel. I think just based on last year, just what they did last year, I'm just going to say James Madison and the fact that they were a preseason, number one pick in the East. Does that mean that I trust them or think they're better than any of those two other teams? Not necessarily. I mean, I think they're probably better than both Old Dominion and Georgia Southern, but I don't know for sure. I mean, it's just a matter of seeing how they look, because most of their teams out west with Chesney. So I don't know. I'm just saying there's a lot of questions to be answered with them, but I would probably stick with James Madison, although in two attempts of playing them at James Madison in the Sun Belt, we beat them both times. So hopefully that continues to ring true, because that's our first conference game is at James Madison. So we really need to get off on the right foot there. I mean, that would be a huge win to start conference play with. So I'll just stick with the Dukes there just to give them respect, because, I mean, obviously you should respect that program, because they've been a model of what you should do as an FCS team moving up to the FBS. They're a model of what you should be. So.
Yeah. Well, and I agree to a point. James Madison's our rival. I'm just like, that is our main rival. App State and us, we are good. We have a decent rivalry, sure, but whoever wins James Madison and Marshall usually is always going to end up playing for the Sun Belt Championship. That's just how it's been the last few seasons. It just is what it is. So James Madison's a great pick. There's somebody that I think is always going to be tough. That said, though, I really have I know they're right off the college football playoff appearance and different things like that. So a lot of people are high on them, but this is a completely different team than what they had last season. Like, there's hardly anybody back that was on that squad because of a new coach transition. Billy Napier's now in and all of that. So honestly, James Madison will always make you nervous because they're your rival. It's always going to be a good game. It's always going to be tight. It's always going to be a special atmosphere. But as far as scaring me and being the biggest obstacle of the year, I don't think of them in that way. Same thing with App State. I don't think that they're our biggest obstacle either. We have them for the 75 game this year. They've also had a couple of really underwhelming seasons. A lot of people are out on their coach. And I mean, if he doesn't do good by like week 5, I mean, they're going to be calling for his head, and there's going to be a lot of different, voices saying things and at a Boone, and people are going to be really low on them. So I don't even suspect them being our greatest obstacle. I think our greatest obstacle comes down to two teams that are kind of unexpected, but have been an Achilles heel nonetheless, and that's Coastal Carolina, and that is Georgia Southern. Coastal, for whatever reason, just seems to have our number. I believe we've beaten them once since we've joined the Sun Belt, which is so annoying because we've had better teams than them. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know why. We just always had trouble. I went to the game last year on the Halloween weekend, and it was a great atmosphere down. The Coastal fans, they did a tremendous job. I mean, it was like almost a sellout crowd. The student section was incredibly great. But we got them at home this year, so that doesn't really concern me a lot. I think that we'll pay them back. I think we got their number. The biggest team that really concerns me, and you mentioned them, is Georgia Southern. And for whatever reason, they just seem to have our number. I don't know why. I can't explain it. They don't have as good of a team as we do. Clay Helton, he's fighting for his job. I mean, he might get fired this year if he don't win more than 7 games. But for whatever reason, every time that they end up playing us, they just like lock in. I don't know. It's really strange. And to me, I have said this all off season. Georgia Southern is the team that concerns me the most in the East this season. I think that if they were ever going to put it all together, this is the year. Max Johnson is their quarterback. He is a seventh-year senior. All right, he's been to LSU, Texas A&M, and North Carolina. The dude's 25 years old, and I think has like a 401k and like retirement program or something. I mean, he's unbelievable. The dude's old. He's got incredible experience, and that's going to be they're going to be a tough team. And their backup quarterback, a lot of people don't talk about him, but he might end up being your starter by the end of the season, is Weston Bryant. He's a 4-star commit. I mean, that's like Clay Helton's guy that he brought in a couple of years ago. And we saw a little bit of him. I'll never forget this dude last year. He was in for one play and threw like a 65-yard touchdown. Just threw it up. And he's solid. I mean, he's a good player too. So he's got two guys under center there that can make a big difference. And out of everybody that we play this year, for whatever reason, people may call me crazy. I mean, we ought to be looking at James Madison or App State or somebody like that. But Georgia Southern is a team that concerns me. And honestly, I'm high on them. I wouldn't be shocked if you would even see them contending for a Sun Belt championship.
Yeah, they're scary just because they're so unpredictable. I mean, you never know what you're going to get with them. They could easily be a team that competes for a championship just as easily as they could be a team that struggles to get to bowl eligibility. They're just that inconsistent, and you never know what you're going to get with them. I mean, and we've seen that inconsistency the last 2 years we've played them within the same game. I mean, we're up 20 points in the third quarter, whatever it is, down there 2 years ago. They come back and beat us, and then last year we fall behind. They're playing really well, and we almost come back and beat them. We lose by 5. So I mean, we've seen the ups and downs of that team just in the 2 games that we've last played against them. So that's a solid pick. They're just a wild card. They're just flat out a wild card. You don't know what you're going to get with them. So I got a couple questions left here. My first one being looking about the Joan this year, because I know you got a question about the Joan. I don't know if you're going to ask or not, but this one talks a little bit more about the crowds. Are we going to see? And we've heard people talking about it. I've heard Gerald Harrison just talk about it recently. We need to see a packed house at the Joan this year. We need to see it. It's time to bring it. It's time to get back to that. It just is. We got a stable program. Finally, after a couple years of kind of chaos, we've got a team that's going to be good. This is a time to come out and pack out the Joan. Will we see a sellout crowd at the Joan this year? 30,000. Are we going to see it this year?
I want to be optimistic and say absolutely, but I also know our fan base.
Oh yeah,
and I also know our schedule.
True.
And quite frankly, we don't have an opponent that I believe is going to bring in the amount of people that is necessary for a sellout crowd. Now, the game that I think has the most potential to be a sellout crowd is the game that a couple of years back, I mean, Marshall leaned into heavily, had to stripe the Joan against App State. That's going to be a fantastic crowd. Like, there's going to be a good amount of people. But the problem with that game is this. It's a 75 game, so it's going to be towards the middle of November, which means the temperature is likely going to be a little chilly. Now, last year's an outlier to that. It was beautiful. I mean, it was like an awesome, awesome atmosphere when we played James Madison last season. But I remember 2 years ago when App State was actually here, we played them on 75 week. It was miserable conditions. It was cold. It was rainy. And a lot of fans ended up leaving. So, but it's depending on what the weather does and how good the team is. I believe that is your game that you circle and you say, okay, if we're going to sell it out this year, that's going to be that opportunity just because of the brand of App State, regardless of their record. Their fans are going to travel. They'll help us out a little bit. And you know, if Marshall's got, I mean, if they're undefeated in Sun Belt play, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if you saw a sellout crowd. Now, looking at everything else, I really don't see it. You'll have a great crowd for Middle Tennessee. We always have a great crowd that first, game of the season. I'd say 27 to 28,000 people will end up being there, depending on what happens at Penn State. Now, if we beat Penn State, it might sell out.
It
We'll
might
see.
sell out.
It might sell out, but I want to be optimistic and say, yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, I've been optimistic for like the last 5 seasons and only seen like 1 or 2 sellouts. Seeing the schedule that we've got, I highly doubt it. Next year, though, Boise State, that's a sellout. Get your tickets now. Like, go ahead and buy your season tickets at this time just for that game, because that's going to be must see. One of the more fun games that we've ever seen at the Dome, but that ain't this year. And so I honestly will personally say I doubt that we see a sellout, but we will get close a couple of times at bare minimum against App State, against Middle Tennessee, just because that's the first game of the season. I know Coastal comes to town this year, but I think that's on a Thursday night, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I don't know for sure. If that's a Thursday night, go ahead and just mark that out. If it was a Saturday, though, that could be as well.
South Alabama is a Tuesday night home game.
Okay. That's your midweek game. Okay.
Yeah, and that
we've
one
got
will be
Coastal on a Saturday then.
We got Coastal on a Saturday.
Well, there you go. That could be a good crowd.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, South Alabama on a Tuesday night game, that's just not going to be a crowd pleaser at all. But no, I agree with what you said. I think that we will definitely be close a couple of times. Like, I think for sure, if we beat Penn State and that first home game is not sold out, we failed as a fan base. I'm just saying there's no excuse in the world for that, because if you think back to 2022 with Notre Dame, if we had a home game the next week, packed. But unfortunately, we went to Bowling Green and we lost. So, if that was a home game or after that, we would have been sold out 100%. And same thing here. If you go on the road and you beat Penn State in front of over 100,000 people, you go and show up. And it's just as simple as that. I do like your point about the App State game. That definitely could be a sellout, pushing a sellout, especially at that point. We could be in a really intense race for the East Division Championship at that point. Who knows what we'll be like at that point. Coastal Carolina game, I mean, I don't expect that to sell out, but I would think it would be a good crowd. But at the end of the day, when you look at, and I've said this for years, and I still believe it, that when it comes to like group of 5, group of 6 fan bases, they're big game hunters. Like, they're not always, it's very, very, very few teams in their group of 6 that consistently, I don't know if there's any that consistently sell out. So it takes like a big non-conference home game to really turn out a lot of times for programs at our level. And we have Middle Tennessee and Gardner-Webb. So it ain't happening. Not there, at least. But so next year, though, oh yeah, they're going to. They need to open up take the tarps off for that Boise game. That's but they're not. Hopefully by that point they're gone. But yeah, that would be. I wish Boise was here this year. Oh my gosh, that would be beyond hype, is what that would be. But nonetheless, it's not.
Yeah. Well, and like you mentioned, I think, though, no matter what, even though we don't have sellout crowd, I think that we'll have good crowds. And really, I'm proud of the Marshall fan base, because we have definitely upped the ante ever since we joined the Sun Belt. We've had better teams come in, better brands. It's a lot more fun, and I'm excited because next year too, you got James Madison coming back. And so you've got Boise State and James Madison. There's 2 opportunities to sell it out, because you've got 2 college football playoff like teams that have been there the last 5 seasons coming to the Dome. That's awesome. That's electrifying.
Yeah.
But this year, like we said, is just not great. Not a great schedule. And really, while we're on the topic, I'll talk about more of the Dome here in just a second. But while we're on the topic, let's assume the best case scenario. Marshall just gangbusters, goes all out. They beat Penn State week number 1. They don't lay an egg against Middle Tennessee. And then they just go on this run that is just generational, and they go 12-0. And Penn State is, let's say that we'll talk more about what we think that they're going to be next week as we do like a full week breakdown. But let's say that they win 7 to 8 games, okay, for just the case of for the sake of this scenario. So we've beaten at the time a top 25 team, but ended up finished unranked. And then the remainder of our schedule we ran through, and we went 12-0. Best win was against Penn State. Second best win was against maybe, let's say, a 9-win to 8-win James Madison. Do you think that if Marshall went undefeated with that scenario, that they would be able to make the playoff? I know that there would be a conversation, but let's just be honest. Nationally, the conversation about the Sun Belt is not very high. Everybody's going to be high about Boise State. Everybody's going to be high about whatever the American does. The Sun Belt gets lost in the shuffle. And again, last year, I'm very thankful that we got an opportunity to have some representation. And really, looking at it, James Madison played Oregon better than Texas Tech did. Yeah. But that's never going to be something that the national media ever is going to admit or say or mention. So, again, if Marshall is able to do the impossible, win 12 straight games and your conference championship, they're 13-0. Do they make the playoff? And if so, what seed do you think that they will end up getting?
If you go 13-0 with a win over Penn State and you're in the group of 6, you have to be in. It's just that simple. I don't care what the national perception is of the Sun Belt. I mean, it wasn't great last year, and James Madison got in with 1 loss. So it has to happen. Has to happen. And I know the flavor of the month is going to be, the new Pac-12 and whatever. I know that's going to be the flavor of the month. Like, Boise's always there. People are high on Texas State, which they've really done nothing to warrant that. They got a great quarterback. But, I mean, and the Americans always is always the team that ESPN the conference that ESPN can't get enough of from the group of 5, group of 6. So it's never going to change. But if we could go 13-0, good grief, we've got to be in there. As far as the seeding goes, I mean, how do they even do the seedings? Because I'm literally drawing a blank. How do they do
It's
them?
changed from even last season.
That's what I thought.
There's still an obligatory, at least one group of 6 that will make it. But it would be the highest ranked seed. Yeah. So that also is tough because, again, if Marshall does go undefeated, yeah, it's great. But would they be declared better than a 1-loss Boise State that lost to Oregon?
Right.
That's
exactly.
Tough. That's tough.
It is. It's going to be very much similar to what the position we were in 2014 until we lost to Western. But like we were undefeated. We were just sort of rolling through everybody, but nobody respected our schedule. None of that was the first year of the college football playoff. They hated us. So, Boise was always ahead of us. And, even though they had lost 2 games, I think that year, they were always ahead of us. So,
well, and make no mistake about this too. Because Tulane and James Madison both made it last year, and now that they have changed some things, that'll never happen again.
Never.
I was listening to somebody talk about this the other day, that the greatest opportunity that the group of 6 ever had to win a national championship was back when there was the 14 playoff and you had the Cincinnati run, or UCF got really close, because let's just face it, you had to win less games. Right. But if you're from this point onward, if you win out and you're the highest ranked group of 6 team, you're not going to be ranked over 12. You're just not. And so that means that you have the toughest way to sled all the way to the national championship. And it's not going to be easy by any means, especially whenever there's like millions and millions and millions of dollars in the difference between your team's roster and Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia and Clemson and Tennessee and whoever else you want to name.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, if that situation happened and we went undefeated and we got the playoff, we'd be the lowest seed or one of the two, like for sure. So at that point, it wouldn't even matter. But yeah, that would be. I don't give a crap what seed we were in. If we made it to the playoff, I'd be the happiest man alive. I mean, I don't even care. So, but regardless, that is what it is. I mean, now they've got clause in there where, if Notre Dame finishes in the top 12, they're automatically in, or if it's like, okay, whatever. So it just is what it is. But as far as my last question goes, and we're gonna touch a lot more on this next week. We're gonna give exact predictions, but we gotta look at the whole big picture. What is the bare minimum for wins for this Marshall team this year? Bare minimum. Because a couple weeks ago, I would have said something probably different than I'm saying now. So what's your answer for that?
Well, my bare minimum is this. I mean, like, they've at least got to win 7 games. They should have won 7 games last season. You've got to have a winning record. Like, let's get back to our winning ways regardless. If the season goes gangbusters and we do everything that we're hoping to do and we win the conference championship and all of that, great. But if the season also takes a little bit of a tailspin and we end up losing a couple of games, we've got to win 7. Like, we've got to. Let's make a bowl game. Let's, give our fans an opportunity to travel sometime in December and have some fun. And Tony Gibson is going to be, very, very well thought of. If you go less than 6, there's a problem. Like, there's a problem with. I mean, there's got to be a coaching breakdown. There's got to be a player personnel breakdown. Somebody's got to have been injured. I really don't see a world where we don't win at least 7 games this season. That's my bare minimum of wins total that I think has to happen this year.
100%. I have the exact same. It's 7. It has to be at least 7-5, and that's really I mean, yeah, like you said, if you start having a bunch of injuries pile up and that's understandable, 7-5. But if this team's healthy the whole year, I don't even think 7-5 is good enough, quite frankly. But I think that's the bare minimum. I mean, realistically, I think they're right around the. Well, I know their over under probably a lot less than this, but I would kind of put the over under at about 8. That's where I am with it. Like, are you going to take the over or are you going to take the under? But I think that's probably about where the sweet spot is in the middle there. I could easily see them being well above 8, but I could also see them being possibly 7 or, 6. I guess you could still get to a bowl game, but that would not be a very good year at all. So it's interesting for sure to talk about, but I really do think that this team should be a lot better than 7 wins. But things change, quickly. So who knows what it'll be. But right now, I'm pushing the over for sure.
I would agree. Like, I say 7 wins is your baseline minimum, but I think there will be 8 or 9. Like, I think that's really what the team's shooting for. And like we said, we'll go into depth of like, all right, here's where we're going to win. Here are the games that I think we got that are in the bag, and these are going to be tough. So, but yeah, I definitely agree. Last question that I've got, and really this is just for a fan experience question. The Joan has been able to kind of make some changes. Gerald Harrison has done a fantastic job of just innovating certain areas. And there's also rumors that we'll talk a little bit about for the next season as far as just innovations and renovations that's going to be around the Joan. Some things that we know for sure of course, these are the 2 really popular ones. Dough Daddy's Pizza is going to be in the Joan, and then also Chick-fil-A is going to be in the Joan. And I know some people have some controversial opinions about Chick-fil-A, but I'm just going to say it this way. It's delicious. And so I'm excited to be able to watch Marshall drink a lemonade and eat some Chick-fil-A. But with that said, though, what are some things that you're just the most excited about as far as just the game day experience? I also didn't even mention that they have the porch area now in the end zone. That's the major renovation that they made this season, where it's going to be kind of a specialty seating. Common folks like us, I don't know if we'll ever get to sit there, but
yeah.
But still, yeah, it seems like a really cool thing. I've seen some pictures recently where they've built some shelters and things like that in the end zone area where it just looks better. It looks better. So what are some things that you just kind of look at that you've seen that you're kind of excited about that's just new? Because every year you go into the first game and you're always looking around like, man, all right, what's new? What's the cool thing that we've got this year?
Yeah, I mean, all of those things I'm very excited for. I mean, the porch, like you said, probably not going to be in a position to be doing that personally, but I mean, it's going to be awesome to see and look at, and it's going to be just a great kind of more visually pleasing, in there. Because last year, you just saw just like rundown bleachers up there and nothing else. It just looked real ugly. So now you're not going to be as focused on that, and they're going to be tarped off. Hopefully, they're totally tarped off, and then they're going to have the porch. So that's going to be a lot better visually. I'm looking forward to seeing because I think Harrison even mentioned this as well. Different things that are going to be around for past success, history, championships, all that kind of things. Just honoring the history of the program, banners being bigger, different stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I always love seeing that kind of stuff, and I think that he's definitely invested in doing that. Chick-fil-A is going to be great. I mean, who doesn't want? That's going to be awesome. Just going to the Joan to getting Chick-fil-A. I mean, that's going to be really nice. That's going to be a big boost in revenue for sure, profit for sure. So going to be great. There's more of a conceited effort now than there has been in a long time to make the fan experience better, and we're seeing that. Even last year we saw a lot of changes, big steps in the right direction, and I think that's only going to be improved more so this year. It's great. It's going to be great to see a lot of things getting renovated, and it's going to be really nice to see all of it come to shape. And once we get those upper end zone bleachers out of there, hopefully by next year, it's going to even be better, because the whole that it's going to be like it used to be, like the old days where those bleachers weren't there. The fans were more on top of the field. Loud, it's going to be probably going to sound louder, honestly. So I'm excited to see all the stuff that they have planned up in the future.
Yeah, and one thing too is that I do believe this season that we are going to be ordering new tarps. That's something that I have heard.
Yeah.
For that end zone seating for the time being, just to make it look as good as possible. But really, next year, I think, is whenever you're going to start seeing some major things happen. Yeah. The rumor is around, the internet anyway. I mean, the internet's never lied to me.
No, never.
Is that we are finally going to get rid of those end zone bleachers by next season.
Yeah.
And those will come down. It costs a little bit of money to do that, more so than what people would ever really think. So I don't suspect that, we're going to tear those down and then build something great. No, I would say that you see that built or torn down, and then a couple years down the road, you might see the porch area be expanded to something greater. We've talked about ideas and different things before that we could put in there. But you definitely could do something with the Ring of Honor that just recently has become a thing. Yeah. We have a Hall of Fame already, but I would assume that the Ring of Honor is going to be reserved for your elite athletes. And so that's really cool to be able to see. I really hope that this is something that will be visual in the Joan, that people can go to and that they can look at and that they can see, or maybe, I don't know if it doesn't even have to be like trophy cases or anything like that. It could be outside, just a plaque or something. But something along those lines, man, that would be very, very cool to be able to see. But for this season, I think that we've made some very solid, smaller adjustments. But in the future, there is a lot of plans to be able to take the next step with some major things that will completely transform how the Joan looks overall. And I'm excited about that.
Oh, man, I'm so excited. It's been a long time coming. For the longest time, we just kind of stayed the same. Like, we never even really got any better. We just and we didn't even stay the same, because there were some years where we got rid of stuff that people wanted. So it's like, I'm glad that, they brought back a lot of things. and they're just continuing to add and make everything better. And there's so much more of an effort. Gerald Harrison talked about that on our podcast, that he wants to make it an event. He wants to make it a party. People want to go. It's entertainment. People want to show up for the games. And I think you're going to see a lot of changes in the future. And I think it's going to lead to a lot more success, like with season tickets, with just general ticket sales. It's going to be great. I cannot wait. So we've been talking for over an hour and a half, and we still had a lot more questions we probably could ask. So we're going to stop it right there. And, a lot of this stuff we're going to talk more about next week as well, considering we've got the big Penn State preview and the season preview overall, win-loss record, all that kind of stuff. So we got a big episode next week that's probably going to be lengthy as well, and we wouldn't have it any other way. And I think y'all will get a lot out of it probably. So looking forward to that next week for sure. So with that being said, go Herd. Thank y'all for listening. And it is almost that time, and we are just as excited as you all are for it. So later.